Let's now go to South Africa, where all eyes were on the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg as the first high-profile legal battle of 2023 began. President Cyril Ramaphosa is seeking to interdict former President Jacob Zuma's private prosecution bid against him. The case is linked to that of prosecutor Billy Downer and journalist Karyn Maughan, whom Zuma has accused of colluding to leak his medical records. Zuma wants Ramaphosa prosecuted for not instituting an inquiry into Downer's conduct, but is his case legally viable? Joining us now to further discuss this is the current chairman of the Southern African Institute for Responsive and Accountable Governance, Advocate Tseliso Thipanyane. Thank you very much for joining us on the news. The former president has argued that President Ramaphosa should have taken some action in relation to Downer. Is this something that anyone can dictate to a president?
Good evening to you, and thanks for the interview. The offense in charge in question is actually quite a serious one. It carries up to 15 years imprisonment or a fine for disclosing records during of NPA during a criminal prosecution. So in this case, Billy Downer, who is the prosecutor, is alleged to have disclosed Mr. Zuma's medical records to a gentleman. Permission to institute a private prosecution. Now, in the case of the president, the charge is that when he did not act as requested by Mr. Zuma to address Mr. Downer's alleged misconduct. So that's why then we have this case, and hence the action by the president to try and stop the private prosecution. And we'll know on Monday whether the court will actually grant interdict or not. Otherwise, it means Mr. Zuma, the president, will then have to face criminal charges on the 19th of January this year.
How true is the accusation by Ramaphosa blaming Zuma for abuse of the courts? Would you describe this process as an abuse of courts, or is it just a mere accusation?
Well, the courts will have to determine whether, Mr. Zuma's conduct is an abuse of the process or not. At this point in time, there was a case today, and the courts will decide whether they will actually allow that or not. So we'll wait and see. But I must say it's actually the first time in our country where the former president is taking the current sitting president to court in a criminal matter, even though it's a private prosecution.
Judgment is expected on Monday. There's been argument so far presented today. Any bets on who will sway the court from the arguments presented so far?
It will be a bit difficult in the sense that, the easiest there must be a case. So the issue is whether the courts will allow the president to be exempted or not. It will really be difficult to take a guess on this one. Even though, of course, on one hand, one might say the alleged offense against the president is actually quite a minor one because he was not involved, and he said he actually referred this matter to the Ministry of Justice to address that. So it will be very interesting to see what the court will say. At the same time, it will also open a very worrying door in our country that we can have a series of private prosecutions and then we can name anyone whom we want. But I guess with time, the court will also set the record very clear that, what will be the parameters of a private prosecution against anyone.
Right. Thank you very much, Advocate Tseliso Thipanyane, for speaking with us.
Thank you.